Extra dimension. Wow, we got a wow. Like I said, we gonna be doing a lot of research after this, y'all. So
Mhm.
what races are these people, the Riskians and this one and the Grays? Are they brothers and sisters? Are there some that are like I see some that are like blonde hair, blue eyes? You see these gray beings. Is that all fantasy, or are these like brothers and sisters up there when you talk about all these different groups?
Well, the vast majority of them are melanated,
Uh,
but you also got many different groups that that stem from them, because when you understand microbiology and genealogy, you get the recessive from the dominant. You don't get the dominant from the recessive. So all these extraterrestrial races are a derivative of the carbonated, melanated Anunnaki beings. So, like I said, you got some. Matter of fact, there's a video on my page. It was a guy who died, and he went into the ethers, and he was shown these beings. He said the great majority of them are black people, and they were the ones in control of the ones. It's kind of like when you look at the hieroglyphics in Samaria, or you look at the hieroglyphics in Egypt, when you had the cat head people, then you got the bird head people. He was saying that there's a lot of them that have the same configuration, and they got the humanoid animals, but they're all being galvanized by a certain group of black extraterrestrials.
You know, I heard I was on Instagram and on one of some Instagram posts was saying that the '90s movie about the cone heads. Remember the cone heads? They
Mhm.
said that's actually based on a extraterrestrial group. Have you ever heard anything about that? The cone heads?
Yeah, they call the Sini tribe. They live.
Sini?
They yeah, the Sini tribe. You got the
Okay.
Sini tribe that lives inside the planet, and they're basically the police force of the Dayros, because the Dayros was grafted out of the Tayros. The Sini and the Tayro are basically the same thing. They just got two different nomenclature titles. So the Tayro are actually the conehead beings, and that's Yaqub's mother, Jacob of the Bible. His mother was a conehead being.
Yakub's mother was a cone head.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, that's why they call him the big head scientist.
yeah. But his father also had a big, massive head. So when you look at those structures, those monolithic structures and stuff like that, when you look at the skulls, they show you with elongated skulls, and they show you with skulls that look like it had two brains inside of it. He comes from the Danakil tribe, his father.
Mm,
So his father amalgamated with a Taro woman, and that's how he was
right, indeed, indeed. Wow, wow. So, wow, this is like shout out to everybody listening. We got almost 3,000 people in the digital building right now. Today's not going to be a long show, y'all, because I got a Patreon interview with Dr. Phil Valentine tonight. So if you are a Patreon member, a new Dr. Phil Valentine interview. We're not going to do it live, but I will upload it late tonight. So by tomorrow morning, if you're a Patreon, and Phil's going to be talking about a lot of the current events as well. You know, Phil know a lot about. There's so many different angles to this and things going on all at once that gotta talk to a lot of people and see what's going on. So if you're a Patreon member, a new Phil Valentine video will be up by tomorrow morning or late tonight if you happen to be up late tonight. So that's why I did this show early, y'all. I usually don't do the shows early, but that's why I did the show early. And I definitely appreciate. I called the brother BDELL last minute, but I really appreciate, and I want to say this while the people see, I show you this behind the scenes, your seriousness and your dedication to this work. You a younger brother, and I feel like you full of energy. You're a young bull, like how they used to call Meek Mill a young bull. You the young
right.
bull out here running wild. So I appreciate your young bull energy and just keep it up, brother. So I want to give you the opportunity to be on the channel and deliver this message to the people. I guess I'm gonna take questions a little earlier than what I do. How to become a patron? You got to go to patreon.com/blackmagic363. What's your channel? Let's start out with that question. What's your channel, B
Uh,
Dell?
my channel is BD as in dog ELL1014 BDELL1014. It's the same as the nomenclature title at the bottom on the left.
Yeah, yeah, same.
BDELL1014.
Uh-huh. A lot of people I see, a couple of people they're trying to criticize you, saying that your information is Dr. York information. I don't think there's nothing wrong with him studying Dr. York. I studied Bobby Hemmett. I studied Phil Valentine.
So
I
what I
study.
do is I study, as I call it, many people, a part of the conscious community and stuff, they call it the science of circumology. You study all perspectives and you get your own interpretation, and then that's how you receive your own edification. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I do.
That's exactly what I do, brother. I study so many, as y'all see, I interview so many different people on the show, thousands of different perspectives, and I form my own perspective based on my internal studying and based on just conversating with other souls in this realm. And I think that's how you're supposed to do it. Let's get to the next question. Okay, somebody says, why do they keep saying Anunnaki is the bad guys?
The reason they say that Anunnakis are the bad guys, because it's kind of like the same concept when you look at these superhero movies, right? They made the superheroes are actually the bad people, the people who are coming back to revitalize the planet in a form of destruction. They're actually the good guys, because everything that was galvanized, by because when you look at the inception point of these superheroes, they actually working with the governmental system. Superman, Batman, all these people. So it's the same concept. So the Anunnaki are actually, the so-called black people. So that also coincides with Thanos, because when you also break down the etymology of the word Anu, which is Elion, L, or Eli, his galactic name is Theos. Theos and Thanos is the same thing. So that's why I said the wrath of Anu is based on the new energies that's coming in to put the planet in the state of calamity, to where the planet is able to revitalize itself again, based on natural balance.
You answered my question. I was about to ask you, so who in mythology would Thanos be symbolic to? And you said Anu.
Yeah. Yep, it's Anu. His galactic name is Theos. Theos.
And the whole philosophy, the mindset of Thanos cleaning the planet, that will be what Anu will want to do right now.
Exactly. That's why I said the UFOs are terraforming the atmosphere. So when it manipulates the magnetic field, it's able for that four-dimensional energy to come in right before you have that great solar flash. It's going to be happening.
Do you? I mean, have you seen UFOs? Number one, and if you do you attempt to communicate with them, my brother?
I've seen one before, but I've tried to, like they said that the only way you can really communicate with one is if you use like telepathic ability and stuff. But I tried my best to do something, it didn't work out for me. Yeah,
because that's the
UFO in my atmosphere around where I was living at one point in time on my way to work.
Indeed. Somebody is asking, where's this at? Where did it go? Did the Anunnaki create O positive / negative blood type?
I know the great majority, because I know that's connected to the original people. So I know that before the bloodlines and everything was tainted with genetic splicing and things of that nature, the inception point of that bloodline was all O negative and O positive.
Could BDELL speak on the return of Tiamat?
You should. Well, Tiamat is basically the return of Tiamat. Well, basically, when you're talking about the return of Tiamat, you're really talking about the planet going back into its original balance. So the original balance is based on the personification of the sun, which is the masculine energy, amalgamating with the mother energy, which is planet Earth. So when they're basically amalgamating together, that puts the planet right back in balance due to the solar radiation that's reconstructing everything, on the planet, because they know that we in the sun cycle, and the sun cycle is conducive to nature, and nature is conducive to natural law that coincides with the natural people of the planet. So that's what Tiamat is basically another term for planet Earth. It's the same thing.
Indeed. Next question: who are the Ritskians?
The Ritskians are another galactic name for the Anunnaki, and the word Rizq means to provide. And they come from, like I said, it's the 8th planet in the 19th galaxy. So a Riskian is a person from planet Rizq, who is basically another term for the Anunnaki, because when you break down the etymological roots of the word Anunnaki, it means those sit by Anu to Ki. Ki means Kai, Kai means planet Earth. So when you look at the geometrical symbol inside the Freemasonic symbol, the G means geo, geo means key. So it's basically the geometrics of planet Earth. That's the mathematics behind it.
You said the Redskins are from the 19th galaxy. What galaxy are we currently in right now? What's the number of our galaxy?
I think it's the 18th galaxy. This is the Earth zone.
This is the Earth zone, 18th
Yeah,
galaxy.
yeah.
So tell me what else is popping with the 19th galaxy, because that seems to be very important with a lot of people. So what's happening in the 19th galaxy?
The 19th galaxy is really just like the bosom of Anu, but that's like the seventh dimension. That's where you're talking about your symbology of the heaven. That's
Mhm.
where the heavens is at.
Oh, in the 19th galaxy.
Hmm.
Mm. So do a lot of people go there when they pass away? Do they go to they go back to the 19th galaxy?
I'm not sure. It depends. It depends on what your frequency is like. It depends if you don't have an encryption on your molecular structure or in your mental capacity, because a lot of people, I say a great majority of people, are trapped on this planet just based upon the frequency of their mind and the way
Mm.
they think and the way they conform to certain theological contexts, or if they conform to a certain program that's acclimated to the matrix system. So they're trapped on this magnetic field. So I don't know.
You know, one of the things that people used to do to try to throw me off my quest for knowledge when I was young, I'm like 21, 22. A lot of people would say, well, how is that going to help you? How that's one of the famous, well, how's that going to help now? How is that going to help? What's interesting is that this knowledge is not just to help you in this life, but it's also to prepare you for the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like, there's certain places you could go, or certain places you could get stuck if you don't have, if you're not on a certain frequency, like you say, or like you say.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's an important point to let people know. Like, yo, preparing for the afterlife, and that's something Brother Panic talks about, is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Talk
And
a little bit about that,
the
preparing
reason
for
why-
the afterlife in this lifetime.
that's why it's imperative to to have some type of knowledge to
Mm,
about what's going on, because you have these things called the hexahedrons, the
mm,
hexahedron cube of Saturn. So what it does is everything is galvanized by the subatomic particles. So it basically, everything they do in their system, it basically puts an encryption on your mental capacity, and it puts an encryption on who you are to where you're trapped in this physical body. So in
mm,
order to deviate from the physical body to where you have access to galactic travel to where you can leave the firmament, you have to raise up your mental frequency. So this is why they say they don't want you to think outside the box, because the box
mm,
material world, and the material world is galvanized by the Saturn moon matrix.
mm,
So that, like
mm.
I said, so when you think outside the box, because you have some type of intuitive knowledge, that's when you're able to, deviate from this planet.
Indeed.
Off is based on the frequency of the mind.
Okay, all right. Let's get to the next question. Once again, shout out to everybody. We got about 3,200 people. Um, I got an early show today because I'm not going to be on here long. I got an interview with Dr. Valentine on my Patreon later, so I want to we're going to do probably about 15 more minutes on here. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I will have the brother on again soon, so I appreciate the brother for coming on last minute. Let's get to the next question. Okay. Do you know, somebody wants to know, who are the blue avians? Do you know who the blue avians are?
Yeah, I know the blue avians are. I think that's also connected to Hootie or Thoth or whatever. But I haven't really like did any type of deep research on the blue avians. But the blue avians, that's where you get the hieroglyphic symbol of the bird of Tahuti. He's also
Mm,
connected to the blue avians.
indeed. Somebody wants to know, what about God within us? It's a
Well, the
broad
God,
question. Yeah.
well, the God within you is your life source, right? So, like I said, it's kind of like one of those things when you go uh to some theological context. You talking about Psalms 82 verse 6. It says that ye are gods. So ye are gods because we have the ability to create. We have the ability to create based upon the octave vibration of our voice, because our vocal cords is basically a direct emulation of a vagina, a yoni portal. So
Ooh.
it's the same way how you can create with your voice box, you could also create through the portal of your vagina hole at the same time. So they both, they both work in symbiotic connection. We're able to create just based upon, like I said, the frequency of our mind. You got to be tapped into the source within you. It's the same thing.
Indeed. Wow. What about, have you got into the study when you meditate a lot, people who practice qigong, I know Wayne Chandler, they usually say to put your tongue on the roof of your mouth. Have you ever investigated that science of why people would say that, and what does that have to do? What does that do during meditation?
Well, I remember I think it was like my freshman year of college. I remember reading this book. They say that there's a ball underneath the roof of your mouth, and it's supposed to activate the Kundalini energy within you when you especially when you're doing like tantric sex or yoga and stuff like that. When you're doing stuff like that, it activates a certain cymatic frequency to where the Kundalini energy travels up the spine and it goes into the third and fourth ventricle of the brain to where you can activate that God mind. So, I mean, I've never done it before. I've never, reaped the benefits of reaching that level, but, I've tried through meditation before.
So let me ask you this now. This Kundalini energy, and they say that the melanated man and woman is the Kundalini people of the planet. Do the Galactic Federation, do the extraterrestrials have this Kundalini energy? Or is this everybody has this they have this Kundalini energy?
Not everybody.
Okay.
Because the reason I say that, you have a certain demographic of people on the planet. You get a transliteration of the Book of Revelations because the 1611 AD is a mistranslation. You go to Revelation 17:17, it tells you that the evil reptilian gave power to the beast. So you have a certain demographic of people that's connected to the Canaanite bloodline, the Amorite, the house of Labana. They're connected to the beast frequency because they have the same genetical sequence as animals. So when you have recessive genetics, right, you're not able to reap the benefits of a Kundalini activation because it's not acclimated to your endocrine system. Because that's why they stop at 33 degrees in Freemasonry, because the 33rd vertebrae is synonymous to the fifth. I think it's the fifth chakra or whatever. I think whatever is synonymous to the 33rd vertebrae, they cannot activate anything after the fifth sense. That's because, like I said, for one, when you have recessive genetical properties, that basically puts an encryption on your heart chakra. Because you have a certain demographic when they have their heart chakra, the thymus gland is depleted from anywhere from 7 to 13 years old. So the thymus gland is connected to the energy of the heart chakra. So it basically, when you don't have the thymus gland, it steals electrons from from your source, your soul, because the heart is the seat of the soul.
Wow.
So when you don't have a soul, you don't have a symbiotic connection to the planet. So that's why everything they do in their system basically goes against nature, because they're not of nature.
Wow. Woo, there's some deep stuff, right, y'all? Yeah, there's some powerful stuff. I'm feeling the energy right now, y'all. Let's get to the next question. And there's plenty of them in the chat. Oh, you got the people going off. There's plenty of them in the chat. Somebody says, is there an Anunnaki presence in the South Pole?
I'm not sure, but I know there's an Anunnaki presence beyond the ice wall, and there's a door, there's a metaphysical door that's outside the ice wall, to where you're not able to breach the firmament. You have to be vibrating at a certain frequency in order to get through that fermented door. There's like an actual door beyond right in the Antarctica.
Like literally,
there's a door. Yeah. Where you have galactic ice. It's made of liquid nitrogen and things of that nature. So you're not able to infiltrate it. And because you have to have a certain molecular structure to even go inside that portal. Because it's kind of like the same thing how spaceships and airplanes, not airplanes, but spaceships, it needs to be coated with melanin for interstellar travel. So it's kind of like the same thing. So that's why you ever seen the movie Lovecraft Country, they needed the black woman in order to activate the portal.
Right.
So in order to activate certain portals, you need a certain genetical sequence. You need a certain people's genetics. This is why you have to wonder and ask the question why you have so many black women come up missing on the planet so much.
Right.
Do they need these genetics to infiltrate the firmament? Because
they
they
got
trying to leave, they trying to escape calamity because they know these fourth dimensional energies is coming in.
they got because they tell us it's sex trafficking, but it's probably bigger than that. You're saying?
Oh yeah, it's most definitely because they know that the black woman's stem cells, well, the frequency of her menstrual blood has a lot of stem cells because the stem cells is what connects you to immortalized cell lines to where the cells is able to replicate, infinity, like Henrietta Lacks and things of that nature.
Yes, so the black women got the top technology on the planet. You
Most
definitely say.
definitely. Yep.
Powerful. Wow. All right, let's continue, man. Y'all, I know. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Give it up tonight. Give it up tonight. I'm smiling because I'll be happy when I'm able to produce shit like this, y'all.
I appreciate
when I bring, you know what I mean? I just follow my spirit. My spirit said, man, you got to get BDELL to break this shit down. I was like, I'm gonna call BDELL. I called you at like 11 o'clock last night or something like that.
Man, I was dead asleep because I work. Unfortunately, you know what I'm saying, I'm working. I work third shift and stuff, and I'm full-time dad. So you called me to crack a sleep. I was cool because I had to get up anyway. So it was cool.
All right. So yeah, I'm happy that we were able to do this. Somebody wants to know, so when blacks mix their race, can their off seeds reach Kundalini? I guess biracial. I guess
Yes, because well, the woman is already born with her potential children. It's inside the ovate cell, so the woman, holds that frequency and that power. So it really doesn't matter if you amalgamate with a different race. If you deviate it out to a different race and you have mixed children, they're still able to reap the benefits of a certain metaphysical ability.
Next question. What is the best way to harness? You okay? You want a break, brother? You okay?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I just want to make. Sometime I'll be needing a water break. Sometime myself, and when you spin like how you spin, you may need a water break, my brother. So, I want to make sure you good, my brother. I want to make sure you good.
I'm straight.
What is the best way to harness more Kundalini energy? They want to know.
Semen retention. Stop watching pornography. Because like I said, when you watch pornography, it steals electrons from the soul. Stop, listen to love music. You know what I'm saying? Listen to R&B music. You know what I'm saying? I understand how, the great majority of our people, we like to be entertained, but you also want to have a certain type of balance. Use that balance, listen to some neo soul music. If you want to, that's how you raise up your vibrational frequency, semen retention, and listen to some really good music. I go to sleep sometimes. I listen to jazz music. I have it playing lightly in the background while I'm sleeping, or I listen to some classical music because it helps create more neurons in the brain.
Let me ask you your thoughts on this. So I got a couple of brothers that came on here and was teaching telling the brothers to practice semen retention more. Wayne Chandler. I just had this brother Kulu, I think the brother name is you, as well as other brothers come on here and talk about the importance of semen retention. But what you notice is that the cultures or the groups or organizations that practice so-called, they say they practice semen retention, like let's say the Catholic priest or something, they end up being big time freaks. So it's like, does that shit drive you crazy if you don't let that shit out? Because these groups that be like, oh, we don't have sex, they end up being the biggest pedophiles on the planet. So it's like, is that you? Do you think that's a little dangerous not to let that shit out, brother?
It depends, but like I said, some people, that's based on who they are, based upon their genetical sequence. Some people are deviants by nature. So like I said, it's we didn't have all these things that was manipulating us. We didn't have the television networking system. We didn't have all this propagation and everything as far as the rap music and stuff, and telling us to lay with this one, lay with that one, or watch pornography. But as far as the Catholic priest, I'm saying, I don't know.
Let's get to the next question. Shape shifting. What's your thoughts on that, my brother? Shape shifting.
Shape-shifting is very real. So this is why, like I said, when you have the UV radiation light spectrum, when it speeds up in vibration, what happens is it activates the spiritual eye, also the two physical eyes. So this is why, you know, they want to hit people with the draconian juice or the Jabberwocky, because the Jabberwocky basically dematerializes the spiritual eye. So this is why, you know, a lot of people, kind of like what Credo Mutwa said. Credo Mutwa said that you're able to, when you go into the fourth dimension, you will be able to see many different shapeshifters and entities. But that's why they want to hit you with Jabberwockies and draconian juice, because it shuts down the metaphysical eye. Because they know that when a planet speeds up in vibration, you know what I'm saying, it basically decimates the illusion.
Indeed. Okay.
So in order to keep you sleeping docile to where you're not able to decipher what's going on, that's what they do. They basically use the draconian juice in order to, you know, combat that type of energy.
We're gonna do two more questions, then I gotta get out of here, family.
Okay.
What you think of free energy through Tesla's work?
It's a possibility, but like I said, he's kind of, in my opinion, I think he's one of those people that's like very neutral. I haven't really did any research on Nicholas, you know, Tesla's work, but I know that, you know, the inception point of his work was based upon the metaphysical essence of vortex mathematics, the 3, 6, and the 9. So that's the only thing I know about his work as far as like opening up portals and the key to the universe, which is basically man, woman, and child, the black man, the black woman, infinite energy. So I don't really haven't really did his any research on his information when it comes to free energy.
Okay. And let's get to one last question. Um Let me see. I'm trying to well, let's just ask this. They want to know. I'm seeing more comments than questions right now. They want to know what do you think about polygamous relationships? What's your thoughts on that, my brother?
Well, polygamy in itself is the inception point is based on a matriarchal energy, right? So that's how you build nations. Polygamy is really for nation building. It's not because you want to have some type of sexual proclivities, or you have some type of sexual gratification that you want to embark on. So it's really meant for nation building. That's what the inception point of it, you know, as far as polygamy is for. So if people did it the right way, we'd be able to combat, you know, economic disenfranchisement and dehumanization that's being perpetuated by the system.
Let me just ask this other one. Damn, where is it at? Do you have any info on Ophiuchus or are you able to see that on the screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, yeah. Do you have any info on that? Ophiuchus or whatever that says?
No, I don't.
Okay. Yeah, he doesn't have info on that, family. Let's see if we get yeah, we already talked about the has well for those who came in late, just to reiterate real quick, they want to know the 4 UFOs shot down and the 4 hazmat spills. What's your thoughts? Just to close it out, because we got about 3,500 people and a lot of them came in late. So could
Okay,
you close out the show? Yeah.
well, as far as like the, you know, biochemical warfare, I told you the World War III is based on dematerializing the God mind. The war is with the mind. It's not really a war with your, you know, so-called China and things of that nature. So they trying to create desolation and calamity on purpose. Because like I said, they know that God is the highest extension of the mind, which uses the elements of matter to express itself, where you can manipulate the matrix system based upon your mental frequency. So now, as far as the UFOs, like I said, there's a dimensional difference between a real UFO that's created by the oligarchs and the world governments, then you have a UFO that's coming from different dimensions and different galaxies and star systems. Now, the UFOs that's from different star systems, those are the ones that's manipulating the electromagnetic grid on the planet. You know, that's basically terraforming the magnetic field to where you have these fourth dimensional energies that's able to come in. The UFOs that's being shot down, those are all, created by the government. Because if you want to be, very logical and analytical about the situation, you're not going to be able to shoot down a UFO that's able to transmute itself and go into fourth octave ether. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying? Like because that's high technology.
Yeah.
They got technology that's 100,000 years ahead of us. They got elements. They got 200,000 more elements that's not even acclimated to the Earth paradigm. You see what I'm saying?
Indeed.
So that's why I said they would, because they use element 115, which is a superconductor of carbon. So that's how they use the cloaking technology, because the cloaking technology is based on the usurpation of the electrical grid. So that's why you have certain places where they be like, oh, well, the technology and the phone towers is not working in this area. That's because the grid is being manipulated from the usurpation of the ship that's basically cloaking itself in a cloud. Kind of like how the movie in Nope. Because if you notice, when they showed the UFO, nothing, what I'm saying, the technology was just fine, but when it was cloaking itself, all technology shut down. It's the same process.
Family, ladies and gentlemen, we got a rising star within this conscious or woke or whatever you want to call the folks that's on YouTube. Brother BDELL, I want to thank you, man. You did a phenomenal job tonight, my brother. Absolutely phenomenal. I want to thank you for coming on. Leave the people with your information before you get out of here. Everybody's going to want to know how to contact you, my brother.
Okay. My YouTube channel is D as in dog, ELL1014. B.
A lot of people hear us talk about it, but they get a little confused with the terminology. So I guess we could start out simply with simple terms and try to that they use when they talk about the quantum field to help people to understand what's going on energetically, magnetically, electrically, and whatnot. So when we hear photons, and I hear you use this word photons, BDELL, what can you tell us about photons for somebody who really wants to tap into this universal currency, understand who they are, and be the best version of themselves? Let's start out with a few terms, my brother. What are photons?
Photon is basically a holographic projection that creates the Semitic language, which is connected to the alphabetical symmetry of light, because it creates a tetrahedron energy, and the octave vibration of those of those tonal languages can open up portals, take you to a different space and time to where you reap the benefits of everything that you deserve in this reality. So that's why when you look at it from a theological context, when you're talking about Psalms 82 verse 6, it says that ye are gods. So that means that we're a microcosm of the macrocosm, so we can manifest our own reality just based upon the principles of our thoughts through electrical Ethereal energy. So the best way to manipulate this matrix system is to tap into our ancient languages, which has basically been stripped away from us from colonization and dehumanization.
What would you say? You mentioned the Kemetic language. What would you say about Hebrew, Latin, Spanish? Like, what would you recommend? Where would you recommend somebody who just knows one language like myself? What would you recommend to start if we really want to tap into that supreme magnetism with the ancient tongue?
I say that anything that's conducive to ancient Proto-Semitic, or like I said, or ancient Kemetic languages, but we've been socialized and indoctrinated with the European dialect. Is basically puts a reversive frequency on our neurological capacity and on our molecular structure to where we cannot reap the benefits of everything that we want to manifest in this three-dimensional reality. So I say Kemetic languages if you want to get certain transliterations, breaking down etymology to where you have a intuitive understanding on how to manipulate this matrix system.
I remember Polite, or I think it was Polite. Somebody used to say the ancient languages, you use parts of your throat or your tongue that we don't even use no more. Like they'd be like, or something like that, and we don't say it sounds funny, but we don't even talk like that no more. So
most definitely,
they're definitely.
I'm gonna tell you what happens is it basically stimulates the pineal gland. Because, like I said, the ancient Proto-Semitic languages contains two elemental compounds from the periodic table, which is carbon and silicon. So it's basically highly magnetic because it contains a form of magnetism. So this activates the neuroendocrine transducer, which is the God particle, which activates the God body, which puts the endocrine system in alignment to where you can manifest as a God.
You know, so I've heard we've both heard the brother Yaki. We're both familiar with Yaki. You've done videos with him. I've done videos with him. He talks a lot about structured water. So would structured water form sacred geometry within the water that, helps our body 100 times better than dead water that we get from these pipes that's like on 90-degree angles. If the English language is dead, would you say when we use it in a poetic form like rap music or just music in general, would that be like the structured water? Would that be structured sound? So if we want to manifest, if we try to manifest through song format, then it would be 10 times or 100 times stronger because that would be structured sound, just like there's structured water.
Most definitely, only if it's operating at 432 megahertz frequency, which is the love frequency. So the music in itself is very important, especially, the beats, because when you look at the word instrumental, the word mental is in there for a reason, because it's conducive to a phenomenon to where it activates the God mind. So most of these, the music, the trap music, all these, hip hop that perpetuates gangsterism, it basically puts an encryption on your anatomy to the point where it's, like I said, it's electrical, so it's acidic to the body. So the structured water in itself, like I said, if it depends what frequency and vibration that the music is vibrating on. Because we're made up of 75% water, so most of the music, like I said, has turned into a biological weapon. Everything has been compromised.
Right. I was looking at something on YouTube and they were talking about sacred geometry, and they were saying how the geometries act as antennas to resonate with the higher planes of creation. So they were saying that the pyramid is the sacred geometry that resonates with the astral plane. So they said what the ancient Egyptians did, if you look at the pyramid from the top down, it's like a slight indentation. So it's not a perfect pyramid. So they like changed it. And they said when they made that change, they did that so that it could resonate with a different frequency higher than the astral realm. So could you talk to me about sacred geometries and whether we're doing it through yoga? Because we could form an antenna shape and we could bring down certain downloads, or you could have like I don't have it with me, like a pyramid with you, like a diode or something like that. Could you talk to me about pyramids sacred geometry acting as antennas to higher realms of existence?
Yeah, well, the pyramids, like I said, well, you also have the gold cap missing off the pyramid. So the pyramid in itself is what, dematerializes everything in the three-dimensional paradigm. So these pyramids were basically energy centers used to balance out the planet. But that's why you had them on certain ley lines, because they're based on certain energy points in certain geographical locations. So these pyramids have the ability to create tetrahedron energy, which connects you to the fourth dimension. So, like I said, that's is a reason why they put these pyramids on certain geographical points on certain land masses.
Indeed.
So, go ahead. You can go ahead.
No, okay. So so we talked about, we're talking about pyramids and sacred geometry, and I asked you about about photons earlier, and I want to ask you now a simple definition. What would you say an electron is? Because if we're talking about manifesting in the quantum realm and bringing things into existence, electrons play a major role. So I want the people to know in a simplified version, I think you're an expert at doing that, what exactly an electron is.
Electron works on the principles of Ethereum electrical energy, which is your thoughts. So it's based on creation. So like I said, when you amalgamate the Ethereum energy with light, that's how you manifest through everything through magnetism. So like I said, this is how you activate the God mind. Because what you got to understand is that God is the highest extension of mind, which uses elements and matter to express itself. So when you use those elements and matter amalgamated with the etherian gases, this is how you manifest your own reality. So, like I said, electrons is basically the personification of creation on how you manifest.
Indeed, indeed. So, what about protons? What would you say protons are?
I would say proton is personification of destruction.
Destruction?
Yeah.
Mm. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, so you got like I said, you got electrons and then you got protons. Electrical energy, when it's amalgamated with destruction, which is the destroyer, it's kind of like the concept of the metaphysical codex of God. You got the generator, which is the brain, then you got the operator, then you got the destroyer,
right?
Which is basically the foundation of destruction on how you manifest your own reality by activating the God particle or the God body or the God gene, which is connected to your metaphysical abilities.
Wow, man, wow. So talk to me about, I was watching and I was reading something. They were talking about how on 9/11, when they noticed a huge spike in the Earth's magnetic field, and they noticed that it happened around the same time as the planes. They say the planes hit the towers. So they were talking about the emotions of the collective consciousness of humanity, and they were talking about how we're able to affect the field based on our emotions. And a tragic event like 9/11, which everybody around the world, we haven't seen planes run into a building like that in modern times. So it had an impact on the EMF field. So talk to us about how important, we take our emotions for granted, and people benefit immensely off our emotional field, our emotional energy. So talk about how our emotions are connected to Earth, the cosmos, pretty much everything.
Well, what they've done, the plutocracy and the oligarchs, what they did was basically supplicated our emotions and transmuted into a weakness, because now we have a veneration from for everything on a material level, whether it's people, places, and possessions. So they placate to our emotions that's connected to those three-dimensional ideologies and concepts. So when you have a mass calamity, when you have a crisis, that basically steals energy from us because we have an emotional connection to it. So they can manipulate our energy through a draconian system under draconian law, which is the corporation that we're under, that's being controlled and galvanized by the deep state.
Who would you describe as the deep state, my brother?
The Cabal, which is basically connected to democracy. Anything that comes from the left, when you're talking about eugenics, you're talking about the KKK, all these secret societies, you got the black nobility, then you got the Khazarian mafia, because that's why the Democrats have been funneling money to the Ukrainians, who is basically the Khazarian mafia, because when you get to the inception point of their genetical bloodline, they're connected to the Canaanite bloodline. Because the Canaanite, when you break everything down from a theological concept, the Cabal in itself is basically the cursed bloodline.
The Cabal,
the Cabal, who the ones who stole our birthright through a corporation. Because when you understand the diametrical difference between the United States of America and United States, the United States of America and the United States, because the United States of America is basically a corporation that's connected to the 1913 Federal Reserve Act, or under the 27 CFR 72.11. These are all, multitudes of organizations that's connected to democracy, which makes you a corpse to their corporation. So this is why this is the 6,000 year verification period of the beast in the system, because this is why the economical system is starting to fall apart, because their time is up.
6,000 years.
6,000 year verification period, because when you get a transliteration of the book of Revelation, it tells you that the evil reptilian gave power to the beast. Who's the beast? The Canaanite bloodline. So that, that's all connected to the Sumerian mythology as well.
So you would say that, this 6,000 year period in which they were given a chance to operate and to rule. Would you say that no matter how, like we talk about this information and a higher knowledge, no matter how much we tapped into this knowledge, none of it would have worked because there was an agreement that they were supposed to rule? Because I'm thinking, like, what if we did things different? Would we have got different results? But it seems like they were destined to rule for those 6,000 years.
Well, like I said, when you get to the inception point of the story of Enki and Enlil, you got two brothers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Enlil is basically your personification of the jealous God of the Bible who controls the three-dimensional paradigm. Because when you break down the etymology of his name, it means Lord of the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Satan was the prince of air. So he's the jealous God of the Bible who controls this realm. So meaning that he stole the birthright from Enki, because Enki means Lord of the earth, meaning that we're supposed to have dominion over this planet, not him. But he stole it through a corporation under fictitious doctrines of democracy. He stole it through monotheistic religion. He stole it through the economical system. So that's what I'm saying. It's like you got to understand the diametrical difference between Enki and Enlil in the inception point of the story.
Stole it through inflation, huh? Even inflation, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, definitely. What so with this EMF field, and we hearing about all these things from the sun. You always give good information about what's going on cosmically. A couple of weeks ago, I heard about a big hole in the sun. I didn't have a show with you since February, but what's going on cosmically right now that we should be aware of?
Well, I would say this, and this is just due to my own independent research. I really believe that we have maybe about 2 years left to really get everything in order, because when you break down the metaphysical codex of the year 2025, that is the 9 year. So 9 is also a representation of completion. So this also signifies the revealance of the blue star Kachina, where you have the great purification on the planet, because that basically means that that's basically the 9th seal that's basically going to be unsealed, to where you're going to have great calamity on this planet. Because that's like you got this blue star that comes in our atmosphere that comes from the 19th galaxy. So that's all connected to Hopi mythology. When you understand the Anunnaki story, they come from a tri-solar system. So you got these suns amalgamating with our solar system to put the planet right back in balance. So that's what's going on right now. So that's going to be the inception point of your great reset, and that's going to be also the inception point of the great separation, where you have a dimensional split, where you have people who are connected to the 3-dimensional realm and those who separate themselves by connected to the 5th-dimensional realm. Now, the ones who are left behind are the ones who are connected to monotheistic belief systems, and also the ones that's connected and have a veneration for materialism. Those are the ones that's going to be left behind. So like I said, that blue sun is going to cause a dimensional split, which is the blue star Kachina.
Wow. So what impact do you think this Great American Eclipse that's happening next year, what impact do you think that's going to happen? I think it forms an X over America, the Great American Eclipse next year.
I heard about that, and I think that is it on October 14th? I think that's
I'm not sure.
Birthday.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think I read something about that, but that is also signifying, in my opinion, it signifies, the great coming of Planet X, which is Nibiru. So, like I said, you're going to have many different, solar events that's going to be taking place. You're going to have a red sun coming into our atmosphere. You're going to have a blue sun. So, like I said, that is going to be the time where you're going to have, that's the 9 year where you're going to have activation on a neurological level and in a biological level. So it can be something good for humanity metaphysically, or it can be something detrimental for humanity, only if you're vibrating at a certain frequency. So this is why, it's very imperative for people to understand, to get away from these this concept of economical Darwinism, which is connected to Babylonian money magic, because what they want to do is they want to merge humans with cybernetics through a totalitarian feudalistic technocracy, which is transhumanism. So these technologies that's going to be amalgamating with our molecular structure is going to be compromised due to the energies of these new suns and everything that's going on in the heavens. So like I said, in my opinion, I think that's going to be the inception point where you're going to have the great purification. So those who connected themselves and took the mark of the beast, those are the ones that's going to die off.
Right, right. You know, you mentioned I want to bring up, you mentioned birthday, and I want to ask you in terms of birthdays, and you know, we're experiencing this realm, and we may come from a different realm. Who knows? When do you think the soul enters the avatar? Like when when a woman first finds out she's pregnant, and you know she gets that test, is the soul there yet, or does, because I heard some people say the soul comes way after, and you know, people don't feel bad if they have an abortion in the first couple of months. When do you think the soul enters that avatar?
I believe it says something about it. It has to, the body has to encapsulate the soul within like 9 days. I think I read that somewhere a long time ago, but I'm not very sure on that. To be honest.
No, indeed. No, that's a interesting thing to, you know, about the womb, and just, you know, seeing when we
also, like I said, everything's connected to the number 9, you know, so.
Everything's connected to the number 9. What is it about? Because I know some people say every number is divisible by 9 or something. What is that they say?
Yeah, that's what they say. Yep. Because it's because the number 9 is it's connected to vortex mathematics. So it's a quantum number that governs the material world, basically.
Indeed. So let me ask you this: these beings, like when you talk about Enlil, or maybe the seeds of Enlil, or the black nobility, this supreme number 9, they're non-ether beings as well, because you know we got the 6 ether, the 6th ether beings, but are these beings, are they non-ether as well, or there's something different about them?
They also non-ether too. But like I said, you know, just like Rod Hayes says, he said they look like us, but they not us. But they, like I said, but they still come from when Enlil, his bloodline still comes from Anu. Like I said, you got, that is where you have, when you understand the tetragrammaton, you got agreeable and disagreeable. So you have a delineation between the two. So when you really get to the inception of it, like I said, it's all family business.
It's family business, huh? Yeah. Do you take it personal what's going on with, you know, the family feud, or do you think once we leave humanity, it's something like Enlil, Inky, or everybody's just like one big family? Or you think this is some real shit that could never be solved between these entities?
It depends. It depends if the restoration of the matriarch. Because like I said, everything, the inception point of all ancient civilization started with a matriarchal energy. But like I said, everything that's been galvanized by patriarchy is connected to the seed of Enlil, which threw the planet off balance. So now this is why you have the propagation of feminism, because you subjugated the woman so much. Now she's trying to compensate for the lack thereof due to the subjugation from religion, her being exiled from many different organizations and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So like I said, that's why, in my opinion, they also say in Hopi mythology that you're going to have a messianic figure that's going to come to the planet. And in my opinion, I believe it's going to be a woman, because only a woman can revitalize the planet by causing restoration to a matriarch. Only a woman can do that. I believe that your so-called, you know, your black messiah will actually be a woman, because only a woman can bring the matriarch back to this planet to put everything back in balance, because patriarchal energy under the Piscean age threw the planet off balance, which was controlled by Enlil.
Do you think that woman's on the planet right now?
Possibly. It has to. I mean, she has to be right now. It could be a young girl right now. So I don't know. You ever seen the movie I think it's called, had forgot his name. Eddie Murphy, the Golden Child.
Yeah, yeah.
You thought I was a boy, I was a girl.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But the same thing is being acclimated to the storyline that we're living in right now.
Wow, quite interesting. Quite interesting. What have you ever tried to communicate with these entities? You know, you talk about Enlil, Inky, or Anu, or these entities that we hear about, whether it be Tahuti or ISIS. Have you ever tried to like go into meditation and communicate with these entities on an energetic level?
I remember I told you a long time ago on the first live that we did. I didn't really go into it because I thought it was pretty personal to me. Well, I had an experience before because I was just a long time ago. I was just when I tapped into the information, all I had was information. I didn't have really, connect all the dots. But it was like probably about like 4 years ago. I asked myself, if it's meant for me to have a intuitive understanding about this knowledge, then give it to me. And then I had these 3 beings in my room. They were basically dematerialized into shadowy figures, and from that standpoint, then on, I felt like this frequency over my chest. It's like I was being activated on the spiritual level, and ever since then, all the information that I was looking for, everything that I was trying to get an intuitive understanding about, it started coming to me.
Wow. After that, so the 3 shadow. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I told a friend, an elder. I told an elder this, and I told a friend this, and they said it was the 3 magi or something. I don't know. So it's kind of, some people say it's also some of the 3 beings that's connected to the 24 galactic elders.
And who's that? The 24 galactic. Who's that?
Well, the 24 galactic elders is also called the Yahwehans. You got the agreeables and the disagreeables. Because, like I said, when you understand the Tetragrammaton, Yahweh means agreeable and disagreeable. Also,
so Yahweh means both agreeable.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's interesting, and that's a very interesting experience you had. Since that experience, is meditation something you do often? To
most of the time, like I get most of my meditation when I'm in the sauna.
Okay.
That's why I do a lot of my extensive meditation, to where I'm able to, open up myself and receive whatever energy, whatever thoughts that's amalgamating in my mind. That's the time where I tap into my meditation.
Right, indeed. So let's talk about in terms of supreme magnetism and magnetizing things to you. That's a feminine principle, magnetism, and they say thoughts are electric, that's male, and the magnetism is female. What are some ways you think men can fully tap into that energy? Because some men might consider it like like soft when they hear the word feminine energy and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they have to get away from the perception of the perpetuation of false masculinity that's being venerated on the television networking system. So a lot of people, due to dark psychology, which creates behavior modification, if you see something enough on television, it's going to embark into your reality. So this is why a lot of men are very emotional. It's not even through the imagery of westernized television. It's also through westernized diet, and it's also through westernized recreational drugs. So even when you smoking and you drinking, the aromatase levels activates, it extensifies by 25%, because the aromatase is transmuted over into estrogen, and the estrogen takes over your testosterone levels, so you're thrown out of balance. So in order to reap the benefits of connecting to the divine source within you and tapping into that feminine energy, you have to, like I said, you have to understand what a soul is. Your soul is based on thinking, reasoning, understanding, and willpower. So when you don't have that willpower, you don't have that comprehension, that creates instability and irresolution in your life. So this is why the great majority of men on this planet are mentally fractured and spiritually broken. So like I said, it's up to them to have the mental fortitude to, you know, to get away from the propagation of false masculinity, get in the gym, work out, read, listen to R&B music. So these are the best ways to tap into those energies.
Indeed. Now, I seen something on your Instagram you wrote one time, and you was talking about. Let me see if I could let me check this out. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Let me pull up something real quick if I could see it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to come to it later. But you was talking about leaking energy, and that's something I talked to Dr. B Serious about, and that's something, a big problem we have is that we leak energy a lot. We have an electromagnetic field, we have an aura. Some people's are more magnetic than others. Some people, when they walk in a room, you can feel them. And I guess some people, they're weak, and you can see them just by the way they walk. They walk with their head down, and they may seem scared the way they act and behave, and that may show a weak magnetic field. But talk to me about leaking your energy, because that's very important that we need a concept that we need to understand.
Well, the best way to stop leaking your energy is to not make yourself so accessible. So, like I said, I'm one of
You
those
was talking about that, yeah. So the energy vampires, they often come disguised as friends, as family, as mates, and it could be pretty tricky about who to decide who. So what are some of the keys? Give me 3 keys to spot an energy vampire. Three things that, that's an energy vampire. Just give me 3, like, so we could spot them and we could stop giving our energy to those people.
Someone who hasn't done their shadow work, because you know, we're so caught up into this vanity concept of, you know, we like things based on how they look, especially men. So in order for a man to decipher if a woman is a energy vampire or not, so in order for a man to decipher if a woman is an energy vampire, he has to understand that is she trying to bond with him on a traumatic level.
Okay.
So most of the relationships that you see nowadays are basically trauma bonds.
They're
yes. They're not based on mental connections. That's the diametrical difference between the two. But the only way you can see that is because, you know, the great majority of people are